And Charles Belk, who's a producer, was on his way to a pre-Emmy party, Beverly Hills, when he got pulled over as a suspected bank robber.
Beverly Hills Police Department says it regrets detaining the wrong man for a robbery investigation. The African-American film producer was on his way to a pre-Emmy party when he was stopped.
He was mistakenly arrested for a crime he did not commit.
Within a few minutes, with no explanation, he ended up on a Beverly Hills curb in handcuffs because he matched a description.
He was detained, surrounded by 6 police cars, handcuffed, fully searched for weapons. And within an hour, Belk says he was photographed, fingerprinted, and put under a $100,000 bail and accused of armed bank robbery. All because, in his words, he was misidentified as the wrong, tall, bald-head black male who was, quote, fitting the description.
It was all a mistake and a striking display of racial profiling. That man, Charles Belk, joins us now from Los Angeles. Charles, good to see you. You've become the human face for something African Americans around the country have been telling us they experience all the time. You are
a case of a crime that was taking place in Beverly Hills. I was misidentified as a potential suspect because I apparently matched the description. And I was detained on my way actually to my car to put money in the parking meter. I was immediately forced to sit on the curb for a few minutes and then handcuffed for the next 45 minutes to an hour, all during the Emmy weekend on one of the busiest streets in LA during rush hour traffic.
It was for me, a fairly completely new experience. Had never got arrested before. For whatever reason, as opposed to assuming me to be innocent, I was assumed to be guilty. Was that contributed to race? Perhaps. I had spent 6 hours of my life in jail, my rights completely taken away from me, and they could have easily verified that within minutes on the scene. Chief of Police has been very cooperative. He understands, as a former Army general, he understands and respects a process. And there were some breakdowns in their process with handling me, and they have admitted that, and they've put steps in place, in my opinion, to resolve that.
You know, how many of these types of stories have you heard since your arrest?
I get messages all the time of folks who have had incidents. I got one from a guy who got stopped in a similar manner for crossing the street outside of a crosswalk, more than just a jaywalking thing, but actually he felt he was being profiled for it. And I think that one of the things that we're going to try to do with the law enforcement agency, the chief and I, when we do some sensitivity training, is that law enforcement agencies or agents don't completely, I think, understand that they become desensitized to it. This is part of their routine. That officer there felt that he was well and just in, protecting the neighborhood and stopping and questioning this guy. But I don't think they always understand that the innocent citizen who hasn't done anything feels violated. They feel like, why are you stopping me? Why are you targeting me? Because this is happening to them possibly for the first time. So it's not as routine when it happens to someone like this guy as well as someone like myself.
Charles Belk is in studio with me. Charles, did you file a lawsuit?
I did not file a lawsuit. We've had great conversations with the city. There were certain things that I asked of them, and they've been completely cooperative. I was more interested in change. I just don't want this to happen to anyone else again, and it will, but as long as we can cause some attention and minimize that, that was my interest. I'm trying to create awareness that, one, we don't all fit the description. Two, there is a sense of trying to give a voice to all of the black males out there that have not had that voice, either because their lives were taken or they weren't afforded the resources that I was lucky to have. Myself and Team Auto Race have been working on the hashtag Auto Race campaign, which has been a nationwide effort to raise awareness about this and also seek administrative and legislative changes so that arrest records of innocent individuals are automatically erased. Kind of trying my best to push this legislation out as much as possible and get the word out because, one, people don't know that they still may have a record, and two, it can easily be checked if that record is still there. Here in Rhode Island, we have met with the Providence Police Commission, the Providence Chief of Police. In fact, the state police chief is on board and supportive, and he's visiting today. And so we've met with the Pawtucket chief of police, and all of them say that we can't believe it exists, we completely support it, and it makes sense.
Another bill will automatically expunge records of people arrested by mistaken identity. This stems from an incident involving a North Carolina native over in California last year. Charles Belk was arrested after police mistook him for the suspect in a nearby bank robbery. Well, Belk was held for 6 hours. McCrory said Belk later had to go through the legal process of getting his records expunged. And Charles Belk joins us this morning to talk about his experience and what the bill means to him. You came from Raleigh. You were there for the bill signing yesterday. We appreciate you making the trip over to Charlotte to be on set with us. And we were just talking a little bit beforehand. You would think that if you were arrested, mistaken identity, that it would be null and void, hands washed of the situation, but that wasn't the case.
That was not the case. When I left there that evening, after they said, hey, you were not the right person, we're sorry, we apologize, I thought everything was fine. I found out a week later that I indeed still had an arrest record. The problem with that is that if you don't take care of that arrest record, if you're innocent, you will have a problem getting a job, you will have a problem getting a loan, and a lot of folks do not know that when they leave after getting arrested, after you've been fingerprinted and photographed, that you still have an arrest record that you have to take care of.
And this is the first state to do it. North Carolina,
North Carolina
first to sign this
my
bill into
home
law.
state, and it's very, very exciting for me, was the first state to implement this into law.